I want to be respectful of everyone's time.
We have started streaming.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Corey Atkins, Chair of the Civic Center Commission. I'd like to welcome you to our April 6, 2021 committee meeting. The purpose of this committee is to direct the business and be an advisory board for the Asheville City Council and everything Civic Center and Harris Cherokee Center Asheville related. Thank you to all of our committee members and ad hoc members for being here with us today. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city website. And it's also linked on our committee page. Also, if you want to, you can listen by phone. So thank you for everyone joining us here today as a guest. With that, I would ask that all of the commissioners and see if everyone's had an opportunity to review the March 2021 meeting minutes. And are there any comments or edits to be made to that? Any discussion? If not, I'll take a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Bill, second.
Second, Ellis.
Thank you, John. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Now we approve the March 21 meeting minutes. Thanks, everyone. Do we have any public comment listed, Matthew?
We do not.
Okay. So there will be no need for a discussion about whatever the public comment would have been. With that, we have Councilwoman Antoinette Mosley joining us. Councilwoman Mosley, thanks for being here. Do you have anything for us from City Council today?
Just briefly, want to offer words of thanks. Council had our retreat at on the arena floor of Harrah's. It was the first time we've been together as a group. And I know for me, it was the first time I actually was afforded the opportunity to meet face to face with some staff. It was a wonderful event, and we're really thankful for that. I'll go ahead and say that during the retreat, we came up with 5 short-term goals, and among those that are of high priority as far as getting it done within a truncated period of time is the allocation of COVID-related funds. You'll remember from our last meeting, we discussed that we are in the budget stage. And in our last work session, we learned of fiscal effects of COVID for each department and entity, and the Civic Center was amongst those mentioned. So we'll continue to look at funding needs, and I'll get back to you with what we come up with. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone, any commissioners or anyone have any questions or for Councilmember Mosley? Is there any sense at this point, I know you said it's kind of still early, is there any sense at this point what that amount might or might not be? I know I saw that the city's getting like 26 million or so.
You know, Corey, I do not know because as of yet, I have not seen the actual guidelines and requirements set forth by the federal government regarding how the funds will be dispersed.
Okay. Well, thank you for thinking of us and keeping us in mind throughout that process. And certainly we look forward to getting an update maybe at the next meeting or so. So thank you for that. Up next with the Sports Commission, Demp Bradford. Demp.
Okay, am I unmuted? Yeah, I am. First, I'd like to say, thank you to the staff for an incredible job, not only with SoCon, but we are the only city, including Indianapolis, who went through 4 tournaments without a COVID case breakout. So that's a testament to the plans that we put together, Buncombe County, and also to the arena staff. Just incredible job. With the tournament, we're thrown a couple of curveballs at the end of the tournament or close to the tournament, and that the governor decided to increase our occupancies and allow different things. And it literally was changing the week of the tournament. So we had to be really flexible. That is going to be, with having attendance creates expenses. So we're trying to work through all the financials and finish that up right now. But it was a great tournament. I thought the venue looked great. The response was very positive. I think we had maybe 2 or 3 people we had to ask maybe twice to put their mask on, but that's pretty good. In this time, I don't think I could go to the gas station and find less people. So currently, our contract does end at the end of this tournament. We are in discussions on an extension. So, or instead of, we don't want to call it a renewal. We would like to go ahead and extend the contract. We feel like that, a lot of positive things came out of this year's event. So we're working on that extension, hopefully have some offers out to them in the next couple of weeks. Because this is a pretty complex, because the Sports Commission is the managing agent almost, or the promoter, but Southern Conference has guidelines, but the Sports Commission rents the building. So it's a unique situation. So it's a little bit more complex than just signing a contract for for a different event, a concert or whatever. So, but again, incredible job by the staff. Thank Chris for his flexibility and late night calls and whatever we had to do to get things done. So that was a really good event for us. We were moving forward not only with that extension, some possible other events that we could. We were on the phone yesterday with an event. They're like, "Hey, we want to come to Asheville in June." So we're trying to work on it. It's not as simple, especially when it's in the same physical year. It's not really simple just to say, "Yeah, hey, we can jump on this." So that's the great thing is hopefully coming out of. I saw a little while ago that everyone 16 and up will be eligible for vaccinations starting next week. Hopefully that'll help us with our high school sports. As you are aware, the grapple tournament, wrestling tournament has become one of our better events. We went from 12 teams to 12 mats, then COVID hit. But we already have 26 teams who have committed right now, and I'm missing 4 Buncombe County teams. So I think we'll be closer to our max capacity of about 40 teams. That'll be the weekend before Christmas. So, and we will be getting with Gala Gymnastics. I know we have next weekend, we have a cheerleading competition with a new group that we haven't, I don't think we've worked with them before. I think they came over from UNC Asheville. So excited to just get a little bit more activity. I feel like sports is the way that we can build things back from a tourism, or I guess I should probably say visitor standpoint, and bringing people back into the community safely is through sports. So sports seems to be the first thing that rebounds, and so we will be working to hopefully get some things rolling. So that's my report. Any questions? Corey, I know you and Greg both had questions.
Well, just when does the current contract for SoCon expire if there was not an extension?
with the tournament this year.
This is the last one? Okay.
Yeah. So that's why we're working on the extension now.
Okay.
We were actively working on the extension before COVID, and
Right.
really felt like we were in a good place. And then when COVID hit, we didn't know what was going to happen and how things would progress and the financials, and we don't know how college sports in general is going to bounce back even in the fall. So we have to be very cautious in what we're putting together.
Does anyone?
Greg's been part of, how many renewals have you been part of? What, Greg, 2 at least, from a sports commission standpoint?
2 to 3.
Yeah. I feel really good about it. I'm not anxious about it. I think that we can put together the right process and the right proposal, and also really feel like that the teams have bought into Asheville as a location. Nobody, they're one of the only highly successful mid-major tournaments, and that's because Asheville comes out to support, and our corporate community comes out to support. So,
does anyone else have any questions or comments for Demp? Okay. Thank you, Demp. Appreciate that. Thanks for all your work on that and working with staff to make sure that was a successful event. Up next, we have a new board member or commission member, Catherine Dewey with the CVB. Catherine, you got big shoes to fill. You're coming in behind Diana Pierce, who was with us for years and years, and obviously is retired, and we sent her off a farewell last time. But welcome. We're glad to have you. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'd love to hear an update from the CVB.
Yeah, so I am your temporary filler. Hoping by the next meeting you'll have a new face to look at. They are in the process of replacing Diana right now. So yes, she has been an asset to us all. So we will miss her greatly at the CVB. I have been with Explore Asheville for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, with Biltmore and other events in town. So very familiar with the commission. I don't have a lot to update you all on right now. It was a last minute add-on to this meeting. So I'll say this, our board had their retreat last week and talked through some pillars that we are focusing on moving forward. And I believe Vic, is she coming to this meeting, or was there a chance? No? Okay. I thought I saw it on her calendar.
We usually do a yearly update, though. At some point, we'll hear from her, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So she'll be able to give you guys a broader view of what we're working towards. But with her on board, we've got some great things happening, specifically these pillars that we'll be focusing on for visitation moving forward. And I'll be happy to note those if you want. I don't know how much detail you guys want.
Whatever you feel is relevant, sure. Hit the high points. How about that?
I'll hit 4 quick high points and then be done. Deliver balanced recovery and sustainable growth, encourage safe and responsible travel, engage and invite more diverse audiences, and promote and support Asheville's creative spirit.
Very cool. Well,
So
thank you
that's it for me.
Well, thank you for being here and for filling in for us. Does anyone have any questions for Catherine?
Corey, I would just say, having been in the retreat last week with the pillars, one of the interesting things that Vic is trying to do, or Vic is doing, is with each group in the community, so there's an aspect of how those 4 pillars work with the chamber and what the aspects are, how the 4 pillars work with city, how do they work with Buncombe County, where do they intersect, and how do they work? So she's working really hard to bring everything together, and it was actually very encouraging. Now I've got to figure out how those 4 pillars actually work in the sports commission world. But it's great job. The retreat, the facilitators were incredible. Just the ones especially the session on diversity and inclusion. It was really, really to be a virtual retreat. I was very drawn into the process, as opposed to sometimes we get on one of these calls and you're like, okay, how do I turn off my picture? How do I turn off my microphone and listen? It was very, very interactive, and it's very good. So I look forward. Vic has a very forward vision, and I think she'll do a great job. Look forward to it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's, there's a lot of healing that has to be done in this community, and it is being done. And I think that every facet of every organization here, absolutely including the CVB, needs to be a part of that process. And yeah, hopefully we can support and get support any way that we can. So thank you for that, Demp, for sharing that. Okay. Next, Asheville Symphony update. I don't see Sally's face anymore, or John. John, are you going to fill us in?
Corey, I'll be doing that. A couple of things I think might be relevant. Symphony went over to the Wortham Center last week and recorded 2 concerts. The first will be streamed starting this Saturday, but these were planned to be recorded without an audience, and then the restrictions were lifted, so there was an audience. In some post-event queries, in terms of feeling safe, uniformly it was the vaccines, because most people have been vaccinated twice. They felt being safe. Chris, I don't know how your experience was trying to take everybody's temp, but we decided not to, and no one asked. The hardest part is to get them to stop and actually ask the screening questions, because everyone just says, I've been vaccinated, and think that gives them this blanket dispensation. But people were kind of happy with that. In terms of search for a new director, I want to thank the staff, Chris's staff, for giving tours of the facility to the 3 candidates that came in. I think we were very fortunate to attract high-quality candidates because of the reputation of Asheville, the reputation of the Asheville Symphony. But I think it is no surprise, and during the interview process, when we asked about concerns, the facility, the hall, came up as the number 1 concern, and not just because of it's of all the problems we have, but they all looked at it as in a post-COVID world, and they noticed things like the tight funnel of the entry to Thomas Wolfe, with everybody going through that very narrow lobby. There are concerns of bringing audience back in terms of HVAC, and Chris and I have talked about this. So Councilmember Mosley was interesting to hear on this, but HVAC, just in terms of what's the air exchange rate? Is there any mitigation within the system to purify air? These are all going to be concerns, I think, for patrons returning to normal. So again, and I think the facility is also one of the reasons we have the Symphony has the turnover that it has in that position, and I think that's worth sharing. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Does anybody have any questions for John about the Symphony? Thank you again for that update. And yeah, hopefully we can get moving on that soon. With that, I'll turn it over to Chris for the general manager's report, Chris, and I'll just let you run through yours as needed, and folks can ask questions as needed as we go through it.
Sounds good. Well, hey, everybody. I guess first up is the SVO grant update. So that's the Shuttered Venue Operators grant that we talked about last time. We're targeting around 1.1 million that we feel like we're eligible for. So the grant application opens on Thursday. They're going to be processed first come, first serve. We still don't know what documents, etc., we have to provide in order to receive said grant. There's been a lot of FAQ guidance and a lot of suggestions of materials and backup information to have ready and on standby, but there hasn't been like a mock application, if you will, for us to run with. So we're getting all that information together, all the backup data, so that way once it posts on Thursday, we can run through it, get the application packet together, and submit it as soon as possible. There's 3 different tiers. There's a tier 1, which is any venue that's down 90% or more. Tier 2, down 70% or more, or tier 3, down, I think it was 45% or more. We fall into tier 1, we're down 93% year to year. So we are going to be calculating our downed revenue by gross revenue instead of gross earned, which is good for us in that it's a slightly higher number. The SBA, the Small Business Administration, who's administering the grant, mentioned in their most recent webinar that they envision giving out 15,000 roughly $1 million grants. So they think 1 million is going to be about the average number. And so we're right about that. We're going to use that money to cover payroll for the last year because we have not been eligible for any of the PPP loans so far. And just to give an idea, looking at like next year's budget, for example, our payroll cost alone comes out to about 1.9 million a year. So that 1.1 will cover most, but not all. But luckily our reassignments that we've done throughout the pandemic with some of our staff is being reimbursed by the county. So we should get close to covering all salaried time between that grant and the reimbursements from the county. So our goal is to get that submitted as soon as possible. There's a 14-day window for tier 1. So we're hoping to have those turned in by mid or late week the following week. Any questions on the SVO grants?
No, Chris, I think just as a matter of perspective, yes, they plan on doing 15,000 grants, which works out to 300 per state, just basic math. Yeah. And the Asheville Area Arts Council did a survey and identified somewhere between 20 and 30 potential applicants just in Buncombe County.
Yeah, we did that math too, and we were like, there's not going to be enough money, even though it's $15 billion. So that kind of pressed us to want to turn this in as soon as possible since it's first come, first serve. Because I have a feeling they will run out of money, but we'll see.
And the Symphony would be tier 3, so we're debating whether to even go through the effort.
I can understand. Any other questions on the SVO grants? All right, I'll move on to upcoming events. And so we are in the height of what's normally dance and cheer season. So next weekend we do have a cheer event that Deb mentioned that moved over from UNCA. It's called Maximum Cheer and Dance. We're expecting about 1,200 participants plus families. So over the 2 days, it's going to be about 3,200, 3,500 people, but we'll be rotating them through so that not at any one time. At any one time in the building, probably around 1,000 people, which is under our COVID capacity currently. And we'll be doing some dance events throughout the spring, but really where the fun is in the fall. So as we get past Labor Day, assuming that 100% capacity is in play, we have a large amount of concerts that are either confirmed, contracted, or targeted. And so for us, those are all dates that we feel very confident will happen. The count right now, just through December 31st, would be 15 arena concerts and 13 Thomas Wolfe concerts plus the Symphony. To give you a comparable, compared to all of fiscal year 1920, which was cut off 3 months short because of the COVID shutdowns in March, we had 10 arena concerts and 21 Thomas Wolfe concerts. So this upcoming year's turning into possibly a banner year, assuming all of those shows happen. We've got a 3-night run with the band right before Labor Day that we're just not sure if that's going to be able to happen because of COVID restrictions. And a lot of these shows, admittedly, are general admission style shows. And so if current restrictions stay in place where all tickets must be reserved seats with an assigned seat, some of those shows may push forward into the spring just because the dollars don't work for a lot of them to cut down the capacity to go to a reserved house show. But all in all, as you guys know, concerts are the majority of our revenue. It's about 75% of the revenue comes from concerts versus all the other events. So to have 15 arena shows lined up for the fall is huge. So it's looking good, hopefully. Any questions about fall calendar? Nope. All right. Next up, FY22 budget. So hopefully you guys all saw the link that's in the agenda that goes to a PDF. So this is just the initial budget that we put in for fiscal year 22, which is the leftmost column. Because we have so many new commission members, I think over half, I put the last almost 10 years in there just so you could see kind of what the trend has been. So obviously fiscal year 18, right about in the middle, that's been our best year. And I'm pretty sure that's the best year we've ever had as a building, as far back as all the books go, which is about 20 years. FY22 is shaping up to be a lot like 20 and 19, or a little bit better. So we've submitted revenue forecasts of about 3.2 million, total expenses around 4.4 plus our general fund support for a break-even bottom line. We always budget for a break-even after the general subsidy or general fund support. But as you can see, if you look back in FY 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, we very rarely use all of that support that's budgeted in there. And that extra amount, so like fiscal year 20, for example, the 304,000, that goes into our appropriated fund balance, which is monies that we use towards capital projects in the future. So we had been building up our fund balance. This year, we'll wipe that out unless we get that SVO grant. So hopefully that SVO grant comes in and helps cover some of our losses this year so we don't lose all that money that we've saved over the last 6-7 years to put towards other projects. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, of that roughly 4.4, about 1.9 million of that is salaries and benefits for full-time and part-time. Does not count our ushers, concessionaires. If you count in the temporary seasonal positions, our payroll budget's about 2.2 million. Any initial questions on that?
No, Chris, I guess I would just ask, do we need to have a vote to recommend this budget to City Council, or is it just something you submit? I can't remember. You're welcome to. We haven't in the past. It normally goes back and forth between us and budget 4 or 5 times. In the past, I can think of one time that we did recommend some type of budget thing because it was over and above and would require an extra subsidy than the normal budgeted amount. I can't remember what that was for, but not necessary, but welcome to if you desire. No, I don't think it's necessary, especially just whenever it's finalized. I guess I'm sure commission members want to see it. If you do need something from us, definitely let us know. Anybody have any questions for Chris about the budget, the projected budget? Okay. Anything else, Chris, from you?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Chris, if I could, status of the HVAC in Wolf?
Yes. So for those that are not aware, we've had some major HVAC challenges in the Thomas Wolf to the point that it was not functional for the last 8 or 9 months and still currently is not. But we're working through a controls issue and some mechanical issues, and timeline is to get that up and running by June. So we should be good on the HVAC, and adjusted rigging points and some production projects in there should wrap up before Labor Day.
Cool.
And I guess to mention on what John brought up about people feeling safe in air exchange questions, things like that, getting this HVAC back up and working is to the same point that it was back in 2019, which is on-off only, no variable speed with it, inability to control the actual temperature in the room other than turning it on until it's warm enough and then turning it off. And there is not an outside air exchange in that room. So it's still 1974 air conditioning and heating in that space. Yeah,
we definitely want to see that updated. I don't think we have any old business on the agenda for today, but what we typically do for our newer commission members is do a round robin for each commission member. If you have something that you want to update the room with for the good of the order, or for a community event that we all need to be aware of, or is relevant in your world, then we certainly want to hear from you. And I'm just going to go down the line here in the order I see you on my screen, and we'll start with you, John Ellis.
I've spoken enough. Thank you, Corey.
Okay. And then I see Nicole, I don't believe you were here. We did introductions of all of our new members last month, excuse me. And I don't think you were able to join us. So we're glad to have you here. First of all, please, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you earlier. Tell us a little bit about yourself, why you wanted to be on the Civic Center Commission. And if you have any news or notes to share here as we close out, please feel free to do so.
Okay, greetings everyone. Thank you, Corey, for the intro. And no, I was not able to be on the last meeting, so my apologies. But I am actually a newbie. I have moved here from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I have a nonprofit organization called Warrior Mom. And so I knew when I moved to a new city that I needed to connect with the leaders of the city because of my entrepreneurship. And so this was a great way for me to connect and also share my offerings that I have with my nonprofit, Warrior Moms. So Warrior Moms' mission is to eradicate emotional paralysis among single mothers who live in poverty. So that's a huge mission. And so I wanted to connect with you all just so that I could share insight of entrepreneurial success, insight of nonprofit experiences and things of that nature. So I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Nicole, and welcome again. Thanks for being here. Next, Bill Jones. Bill, good to see you.
Hey, good to see all of you. I apologize for not being able to make the last meeting. Certainly looking forward to the day where we all can meet in person again, and really anxious to hear more about what the Civic Center and Thomas Wolfe has on the agenda as we all can start to gather. So I'm glad to be here and hope to see everybody in person soon.
Thank you, Bill. Let's see. Next on my screen, I have Greg Duff. I don't see your face anymore, but you're muted if you're trying to talk. Did Greg leave us? Okay. We'll move on next then is Mukunda. Mukunda, do you have anything to share?
How are y'all? Not really. Just looking forward to meeting in person and seeing what we can do with Thomas Wolfe and all the shows and every upcoming events coming up. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for being here. Yeah, thanks for making and tuning in.
Definitely.
And then, next, I have Krissa.
Hey, I don't have much to share. I did want to confirm for you, Chris. I have a friend that's on the board at NEVA, and he told me that there'll be probably about 10,000 plus applicants for the money that's there.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Well, still fingers crossed. So I think that's everyone except for myself. I did want to share that the Asheville Chamber, we are putting together a virtual, every year we do an inner city visit. Obviously it got canceled this year due to COVID as well as last year, where we take city leaders, business leaders to another community. In the past, we've been to, Nashville, Savannah, Portland, Maine, Fort Collins, Colorado, which actually started, was a big part of the transition when we got landed New Belgium as a project. And so since we weren't able to do it in person this year, we're actually going to do a virtual series over a month with two different communities. One is Chattanooga, Tennessee, and the other is Lexington, Kentucky. And the reason I thought about this is because Dent brought up, and Catherine was talking about the retreat and tourism and sort of how do we start back as a community that, does rely heavily on that industry and cares very deeply about hospitality and others. And so the first topic of that intercity visit series that we're calling it is going to be tourism and starting back. We're also going to do another one on economic mobility and workforce development, as well as digital equity. So be on the lookout for that. I would encourage everyone to attend. Once we have the links live to register for that, it'll be each Wednesday in May. And over your lunch period, we won't ask for too much of your time, but it'll be a really cool way to share with 2 other communities of similar size, circumstance, and industry, sort of what we're doing in these 3 areas as we're trying to build back from the pandemic and try to get back to normal. So just be on the lookout for that. Just wanted to share. I thought that it just popped in my head since we were talking about the retreat earlier. And I think that all those things are directly tied to one another and helping us get back to and helping a lot of other areas of our community that are suffering worse than most. So just keep that in the back of your mind. With that, unless someone has anything else to add, I will move to adjourn us and end the live stream now without objection. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you soon.